one of the things I wanted to clarify, and you tend to think this is obvious, but it appears not to be. There is no longer in the West any viable, active leftist parties. Let me restate that. In the West, there are no viable, active leftist parties. In the United States, there is no actual party with a Marxist doctrine, as in calling for an overthrow of the existing capitalist system and creating an actual worker state. In the United Kingdom, there actually is a socialist workers' party that doesn't even run in local parliamentary elections because it knows it wouldn't win anything and it would just be a waste of effort. So what is the current political landscape? Well, we have, right now, we have a right wing, but there is also no active right-wing politicians. All political spectrums are committed basically to one principle: keep the existing system of big business and big government in place. That's the political mantra of the progressives. It's the political mantra of the conservatives. It wasn't until the Republican Party was completely out of power we started hearing these libertarian notions that, you know, you would get rid of the minimum wage / Social Security. As soon as there is any power left to, you know, returning to the Republicans, that will be gone. That will not be carried out at all. So what is politics? What is politics right now in the West? Well, politics is really a kind of theater in which people construct and create identities. And through these identities, they distribute themselves part of the spoils. So the real question isn't whether how we should overrun the existing system or radically alter the existing system. Nobody in the West is planning on doing that. The question really is, to what identities, power, or the spoils of the existing system should disproportionately go or should be moved towards? Progressives will tend to say that the economic system needs to be reformed, and that's clear. They never say revolution. Needs to be reformed so that groups that they see as having been disenfranchised previously, particularly minorities, potentially sexual orientation, women who are working on their own, single women, single mothers, will actually get more of the benefits of the system. Conservatives, or right-wingers, construct an identity that they see they want more of the spoils of the present system. You don't really see very many Tea Partiers say, you know, take away my Social Security and take away my Medicare. There are some libertarians who believe that, but they're extremely marginal and they have no political influence whatsoever. But so is politics unimportant? Well, the key element on it is the determination isn't really at the end of the day what kind of system we'll have. We're going to have pretty much the exact same kind of system regardless of who is in power or not. The question is determining who is or isn't allowed to have a piece of this cake. Now, one of the things that scares a number of people, myself, I have spent most of my life as what one would call a neoliberal, which in America might be called a moderate. But a neoliberal is someone who believes that the ideals of free enterprise and free capital are the best way to generate wealth, and that government should exist to supervise and ensure civil justice, but that the government has no business in running the economy. The government has no business in doing anything other than regulating the economy and checking the excesses of the free market system. I think we can all, without any question, see that the free market system running on itself is inevitable booms and busts. The past 15 years, my head is spinning. I have lost track of how many booms there have been, followed by busts. The system is up and down and up and down and up and down. And, you know, the entire debate over this is one, how can we possibly put some kind of a thermostat on this system? There's a lot of people on the right who are now sort of saying just leaving the system alone will actually work. There's probably no empirical evidence for that, but that's what you're saying. But politics does play a very important role in this imagination space, in this identity space, because it is where people generate what it means to be a citizen of their nation. And what's really going on, particularly very, very verbally in the United States, is what type of identities are going to be accepted in the United States. And what's really at stake is whether in the future America quickly becomes a multicultural, multi-ethnic society in which the vision of what it means to be American is predominantly urban, is of mixed ethnic background, mixed religious beliefs, mixed immigration background, or what it means to be American is fixed to a more conservative, traditional definition of white people living in these kind of imagined white picket fences. Until very recently, and you saw this in Morning in America, the suburbs were created as an illusionary space in which the American identity could construct itself. We've seen with the foreclosure crisis and the current economic crisis that the unsustainability of the suburbs are kind of crashing down on the society. The future of humanity is an urban. More and more people are going to be living in urban areas. For example, in the United States, it's interesting that the Rocky Mountain states are the most urbanized population in all of America. With the foreclosure crisis, and you see people with the end of the industrialization in the Western, particularly in the United States, people are leaving the suburbs, which are, frankly banal and boring, and wanting to move back into urban areas where they can have some fun, encounter some particular types of things. The question, though, is who does ultimately counts to be American? Who does, at the end of the day, when the government has to cut something, who gets the cut? And when the government has a privilege to give out, who gives the privilege? And that's it. And really the populations of the West have been reduced to a kind of begging rights, trying to push their way closer and closer to the table. But that's the world we live in. And frankly, I would not see any way in which any kind of a Marxist revolution strikes me as just delusional. They tried it in Russia and they tried it in China, and I think they regretted it, and I would certainly not want to see it. Certainly wouldn't want to see it in Europe, and definitely wouldn't want to see it in the United States. I'm sure we're not going to see it.